that which goes in does not defile us. With one exception, mayonnaise. Mayonnaise goes in, it messes everything up. So our reading this week has Jesus clashing with the Pharisees. Have you noticed he does that a lot? Seems like every week Jesus is fighting with the Pharisees, and he does it again this week. He often fights with the Pharisees more than those tax collectors and those other seedy people that he comes in contact with. How many of you have a good opinion of the Pharisees? Think, man, I want to be just like those Pharisees. Come on, people. No, you don't want to make Jesus mad, right? You see, Jesus gives them a hard time. And I think that sort of colors the way we feel about the Pharisees. In this case, mealtime was sort of what they were zoning in on. You see, the Pharisees wanted to bring everything under the canopy of God. Right? Wanted to take those ordinary, mundane, daily tasks and make them holy through washing our hands in a dirty bowl. But the Pharisees' intention was to bring everything under that umbrella, everything under the canopy of God. How could Jesus argue with that? Because that's what Jesus wanted, right? Jesus was also trying to bring everything under the realm, everything under the canopy of God. But they fought. They didn't fight. They argued back and forth. You see, when Jesus saw the importance of the law, he also saw that the law was putting up walls and boundaries that prohibited people from getting closer to God. So he took exception. You see, Christ was, is, and always has been about drawing people in, bringing people closer, not putting up boundaries to keep people out. So when he saw the Pharisees' actions of hand washing weren't making them closer to God, he spoke out. See, while the Pharisees were concerned with keeping it clean in their nice and neat little containers and the unclean outside, Christ said, no. No. They can be part of the kingdom of God as well. Anybody want to be like the Pharisees? Still no takers. You see, if we're really being honest with ourselves, we're often more like the Pharisees than we like to admit. Yes, I'd like to be down here alive, but we're more like the Pharisees than we like to admit. Who are those we look at today as having unclean hands? Who are those today that we put on the outside of our boundaries? Who do we view as unclean? You see, our humanity is really good at dividing things and putting them into categories. Now I'm going to step out of my comfort zone here, and this is a little dangerous. But, you see, there's this thing in our brain called schema. And my wife's smiling because that's like her thing, and it's not mine, but that's okay. I took basic psychology. So there's this thing in our brain called schema, and we categorize people and put things in categories. Like Tupperware. You know what Tupperware is, right? So there's a Tupperware container for each part of our brain. Oh, these people, they go in this Tupperware container, and they fit in there nice and neat, because that's what our brain does. Our brain likes to organize things and compartmentalize things. You wouldn't know that by Pastor Rebecca in my office, but that's okay. The brain likes to organize things and put them in your schema, which is like Tupperware. And we're really good at dividing people and putting them into that Tupperware, based on skin color and sexuality, financial status, country of origin, political party, just to name a few. And if you were this, then you were in that Tupperware container, no matter what. And then we decide which Tupperware we like and which Tupperware we don't like. That's where we get into problems. You see, as a church, we must always ask ourselves what spoken and unspoken rules we have that put up walls or Tupperware. Do we have rules about clapping in worship? Do we have rules about dancing? Do we have rules about raising our arms in worship? You guys are laughing. It's that uncomfortable laughing. Oh, maybe we do. Because this doesn't fit in some people's worship Tupperware. Do we have rules about what's appropriate to wear to worship? Or our cleanliness? Or who can serve on Sunday mornings? See, churches, we have our own Tupperware, not just for potlucks. But we make up those rules, right? But you know who did it? You know who did it. Come on. Yeah, Jesus did it. You didn't want to say it. Jesus didn't have those rules. Our church Tupperware makes those rules. Because Jesus knew. Jesus knew that these man-made issues put up walls and barriers that kept people out, that separated people from God, that separated people from the church, that made them not feel welcome. How many of you are Lutheran? You can admit it, it's okay. This is the best illustration I have for allowing the Holy Spirit to work, okay? Because sometimes as Lutherans, we're not real comfortable with that Holy Spirit thing and letting the Spirit move you, okay? So every now and then, they'll play a song. We're at the other service, Jim will play a song, and this is what I see. This from here to here, brothers and sisters, is the Holy Spirit. What's left? That's you getting in the way. That's you getting in the way. It's okay to clap in worship. If you feel moved to clap in worship, put those hands together and clap. If you want to move in worship, if you want to dance, if you want to sway, dance and sway. If worship for you is raising your hands while you sing or while they sing, put your hands in the air and wave around like you just don't care. Because Jesus didn't. Because Jesus didn't. Because you know what Jesus wants? Jesus wants you to be closer to God. And if that's clapping, clap. If that's waving your hands, wave your hands. If that's dancing, dance. If that's sitting there being quiet, that's fine too. We need to change that worship Tupperware. So your lesson today isn't really about eating with dirty hands. Kids, wash your hands before you eat. But it's really not about washing your hands before you eat. Our reading challenges us. Y'all sitting down? Our reading challenges us to be like the Pharisees. Our reading challenges us to be like the Pharisees and try and bring everything under the umbrella, under the canopy of God. But that's not all. And our reading challenges us to break down those walls that prevent people from getting closer to God. It's a both and. We have to be vigilant about the walls, written or unwritten rules that we have as church that prevent people from being closer to God. sometimes we just need to get out of the way and let the Holy Spirit work. You see, we're sinful people. There's a little bit of darkness and self-centeredness that lies in each one of us. I said us, me too. Our first instinct is self-gratification, self-preservation. And there's not a law, there's not a commandment that changes that. It started in the Garden of Eden, and it hasn't changed. We're sinful people. But when we take Christ in, oh my God, we're back at the bread of life. When you take Christ in, what comes out doesn't defile. When we live through Christ, that which comes out doesn't defile. Provides that love and grace that Christ provides. That love and grace that Christ tries to pull us into so that we can then give it to others. So go home, wash your hands before you eat lunch, and be Christ in the world.